So good evening. We will start. And I want to welcome you to the final session for these many months of learning Ngöndro. It feels quite amazing that we have come this far where we've had these Ngöndro classes for 9 months. We had a 1-month summer break. And for those of you who've taken the journey, thank you so much. It's been really wonderful to be able to share the Ngöndro teachings, and for many of us to go on to the Ngöndro accumulations. And these broadcasts, these live broadcasts, are going to be on YouTube under the Samden Ling virtual Gönpa. So they are available at any time, and they are also on the Samden Ling website, www.samdenling.org. So there's an opportunity to see some of the videos, all of the videos, actually, they're all on the YouTube channel right now. And then when our webmaster works on it, we'll get the rest and have all of the Ngöndro live broadcasts on the website as well as on the YouTube Samden Ling Virtual Gönpa. We also have on the resources page on samdenling.org the Ngöndro books that we have been using, and also some extra books that we have been using and referring to. So there should be quite a wealth to really guide people now and in the future to do the Longchen Ningtig Ngöndro practice. And whether it's during a personal practice, daily practice, or joining in on the accumulations practice mornings, I believe all that we need is there and is available to us. And we have the Waves of Splendor, the prayer book. And also, I wanted to remind everybody that we have Anne Carolyn Klein, who wrote Heart Essence of the Vast Expanse, Foundational Practices and the Transmission of the Longchen Ningtig. And we are doing the practice that Azam Rinpoche condensed for Westerners, and condensed heart essence, which in this book is on page 85. And then there is the chantable version following it, and that is on page 99. So if ever there's the lost sight of the prayer book, of the Heart Essence of the Vast Expanse, there is always the book. So I feel like we're very well covered with having the resources that we all need. And also you can always email info@samdenling.org with any other questions about the Ngöndro. And so this evening, because we're calling it Ngöndro Review, we are going to review what we have been doing all of these 9 months, and we will condense it to remind us of the real essence of the practice. And we've talked a lot about the practice, and at this point, it is going to evolve in our own way. So I'm going to read our opening, and there's one little sentence that I'm going to emphasize in terms of the Ngöndro. So for our aspirations, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And may all beings always be free from pain and suffering. And from Shanti Deva, for as long as space abides, and as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. And the request for teachings, reflecting on all beings our specific states of mind, great or lesser, will you please turn our wheel of Dharma now? And this one line, our specific states of mind, is very important. And it's very important when we're doing the Ngöndro to remember that how our practice is going to be evolving, and the kinds of things we let go of, the kinds of things that we kind of run into, is our own personal karma. And the interesting thing about the Ngöndro is that, yes, our personal karma comes up, but also it's really the practice that is the stronger vehicle. And so our particular ways of practice, our particular karma is something that will come up. And at the same time, as we've talked about, can go very quickly. So this practice begins to be our teacher. So we have Padmasambhava, we have this lineage tree, and it is from the Longqing Ningtig. And also for our next series, we're going to be talking about the Dzogchen and Longqing Ningtig masters that are in the book, The Precious Garland. And we will be taking a deeper look at the masters who make up the lineage and make up the great teachings that have been passed down to us. And we always remember that we are receiving teachings from the Tibetan culture. And you know, I wasn't born Tibetan, and maybe many of the people watching were not. And so we're also learning about a different culture, and we're also learning these practices. And they came to us in the Tibetan language, and we're very fortunate to have them translated. So translators are a big part of all of our learning of Dharma. So first I'm going to go over what the practice actually is. And by now, I think for the people who've been on the journey for the last 9 months, it might even seem a little bit like, oh, I know what that is. We begin our entire practice with 3 bows. And it could be a full prostration, which for Azam Rinpoche is always preferable. But at the same time, not all bodies can do full prostrations. So just the 3 bows. And then we begin before the great blazing bliss by saying Om Ahung. And Om Ahung is, oh, it's many things, but the main thing that it is enlightened mind, enlightened speech, and enlightened body. So enlightened body, speech, and mind. And at first you might think enlightened body, speech, and mind. What is that? Well, really it's our full manifestation. We want to fully, not just awaken as a Buddha, but awaken our whole mind body system as the Buddha nature. It's already there, and we want to awaken it. So that Om Ahung is always a reminder. It's like, oh yes, that's what I'm doing. And so a quick Om Ahung can wake us up. So we do the Om Ahung, and then we chant the Great Blazing Bliss, which we remember is calling upon all of the deities that magnetize. And magnetizing is quite interesting. It means that, are we asking to be more effortful? No, we are not. Are we asking for support? Yes. And we're asking for support from those beings who know how to magnetize the causes and conditions for our practice. So they protect us. They also bring the right conditions where we can learn Dharma, we can gather, we can hear Dharma, we can understand Dharma. So all of those beings, and then you think, well, I don't know these beings. Who are they? And in the beginning, I don't know that I knew a soul, but I remembered in my early days of practicing Red Tara, and her Tibetan name is Kurakule. So I would do Great Blazing Bliss and be really, really happy when I got to Kurakule because I actually knew who that was. And then later, oh, Amitabha. Oh, okay, I know who that is. So one by one, we can know who these beings are, but in general, we can acknowledge that there is something called magnetizing energy. So, and it's magnetizing for our Dharma, our practice. And then we move from Great Blazing Bliss to the beginning of Waves of Splendor. And again, saying Waves of Splendor, this is on page 8, Adzom Rinpoche's condensed heart essence foundational practices. So in the early days, very early days, Ngöndro used to be called preliminary practice. And, nobody wanted to do preliminary practice. So, and then somebody said, well, it's not really preliminary in the way that we think about it, something to get out of the way. It's actually foundational. And so the word foundational practices began to be used. And it truly is, because many of the practices, whether you're going to a Dzogchen retreat or anything, begin with doing the foundational practices. And then we acknowledge the guru with Namo Guru Be. And for some people who have the connection to Adzom Rinpoche, then we acknowledge him. Other people don't yet have that connection. And so it would be Padmasambhava, directly to Padmasambhava, who we're developing a connection with by learning about Padmasambhava, praying to Padmasambhava, and knowing that it was Padmasambhava who brought all of these teachings to Tibet and to us, and now throughout the world. It wasn't just Tibet, it was the whole Himalayan region, actually. And then we do the 9 breaths because we want to clear our channels. Now that's part of the enlightened body, speech, and mind. And then we do the purification of the winds. So the winds is where all the karmic, both aspirations and also karmic, might say the word defilements. That's not one of my favorite words, but it's a lot of past karma that may no longer be serving us. And so we do the purification of winds once again by Oma Hung, by enlightened body, speech, and mind. So the way that these practices work is the recognition that we do need to clear. We do need to clear any past karma. And we also need to bring in very positive light, very positive remembrance, and very positive mantra of Om Ahung. So you have both the acknowledgement, it's like the acknowledgement of suffering, and then you also have the path to the end of suffering. And so we do the purification of winds, and we do the purification of speech. Purification of speech is more than just the ability to do the practice well. It's actually our foundation for how we communicate, how we potentially communicate Dharma, how we can address people who may need some assistance, and that the right words, the right time arises. So that which is right speech becomes actually in evolution the speech of the Buddha, and that's what helps people. And then there is also the recognition of interdependence. And so that's one of the mantras, that's the Ye Dharma mantra. And so we clear the blocks. And we also, of course, do the 9 breaths, again, clearing out the channels. And then we come to page 10, and we call upon the Lama. And we talked quite a bit about this in one of our sessions. And again, because it's condensed, and when something is condensed within the Tibetan tradition, it means that the entire meaning is put within a few words. So Lama no, Lama no, Lama no. It's really the heartfelt knowing that there's an inner recognition that there someone, Padmasambhava, Azam Rinpoche, knows that we want to come to the highest, most evolved part of our being. And then we have the Lama at the crown of our head. We ask for protection. And we also want to be reminded to be mindful and aware, because it's our mindfulness, it's our awareness that really brings us to our realization. And then there's the 4 thoughts that turn the mind from samsara. We know this very well, and this is also very condensed. In some of the longer books of Longchen Nyingtig Ngöndro, this is very long. So this is very condensed, and sometimes people just kind of breeze through it. But when we really think about our own life, it's the 4 thoughts that brought us to the Dharma. And then we once again call upon the Lama to transform our mind. And what is this, the Lama? The Lama becomes a relationship. So it is the relationship, we might say, with Padmasambhava. It's also our own inner relationship with ourselves. So we are opening up where we can connect to the most evolved part of our being, and to include those who have also evolved. So it puts everything into a completely different realm, and we stay there and we work that. And the way that we work that is by refuge. And when we take refuge, we're also doing the visualization. And even the refuge is that we go from our own hearts into the heart of Padmasambhava. How incredible. So we start to have some dynamic experiences of energy. And then we move to the Bodhichitta. So the Bodhichitta we know well because many of us have already studied the loving kindness, the compassion, the equanimity, the joy. I raise Bodhi through 4 boundless states. We know those. We know those very well. And we're just reminding ourselves. And why? So it's another remembrance of, well, what are we doing? We are accomplishing the 4 boundless states. And then we come to Vajrasattva. And again, we've got that balance that we're recognizing what we have, and we're recognizing what we want. And we are asking Vajrasattva, who is a being of light, to situate on the top of our head and bring blessed nectar to clear out any obscurations. Obscurations can be just karmic situations. They might be states of mind. They might be emotional. They might be past memories. They can be anything. So Vajrasattva is really the energy that pours through us for the elimination of that. And then at the same time, it's that balance. It's that beautiful balance. Wow, how do we do that? We do that with blessed light and nectar, so that two very different things are happening at once, is that the negativity is leaving and the light is coming in. And why do we do this long mantra of Vajrasattva? And we do that long mantra because that's what Vajrasattva needs to hear to remind him. This is what we're doing. We're bringing in the light. And so we do the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva. And then Vajrasattva dissolves into us. And then the short Vajrasattva mantra rotates in our heart. And that can be actually very powerful because we're bringing that essence into ourselves. And once again, that balance of that we've purified, and then our own hearts are beginning to manifest as that light of Vajrasattva. So it's very different than thinking things through or trying to deliberate. We're actually using practices that have, they're just hundreds of years old, to both purify and also to connect with wisdom, and also to clear inner channels so that blessings can come in. And that's really a key in all of this practice. We do the mandala offering, and when we do accumulations, of course, we have our pan. When we don't, we have a little mudra here of 2 fingers being held by thumbs, and then becoming a little basket, and then the middle fingers are an offering. So it's symbolic. And then when we do the Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnir Yata Yami, we're letting go our offerings into the universe. So we make our offerings. This is very traditional if you go to a monastery, always to bring offerings. I remember when I was in a monastery on Sundays, the lay people just brought all requisites, food, financial donations, very much a part of the whole community of Buddhism since the beginning, since the Buddha's enlightenment. There was always the practice of offerings. And then, if that's not enough, we have severance. And severance is where we offer our body. And these come out of cemetery practices. So we cut off our head, put our bodies in a big cauldron, which is as big as the universe. And that's for all the karmic debtors. So anyone, anywhere, who felt slighted by us, or we felt slighted by them, come. And our consciousness goes out. So our consciousness is not affected by any of this, but there's a big cauldron, and our body, which, as you know, contains all of our karma, then is chopped up, mixed with some incredible nectar. All the beings love it, and they come, they gather, they have their needs met, and then off they go. And then we have a pet at the end. Off you go. And so that becomes satisfied. And this, of course, comes from the teachings of Majig Labdram and the practice of Chud, which means cut, which means severance. And then comes Guru Yoga. Guru Yoga is really where we start to very definitely connect. When I say connect, it's that we're both offering to the Guru, we are opening ourselves to receiving the positive energy, Padmasambhava, or for those who are connected to Azam Rinpoche becoming one with, inseparable is the word. It's not even one with, it's inseparable from Padmasambhava. And then we are praying as if we're Vajrayogini, and we do that because she is considered the great practitioner. And so by embodying her, we too become the great practitioner, and we are more able to receive the blessings. We're not so concerned about ourselves, we're just embodying Vajrayogini. And then again, a way of calling Padmasambhava is the 7-line prayer. So we call Padmasambhava just by talking about it, you know, on a blooming lotus stem, powers amazing and supreme, widely known as lotus born. So all of these are descriptions that when they hear the 7-line prayer, they come. So we do the 7-line prayer, and then we do what's called a puja. A puja is a ceremony, the 7-branch ceremony. And this goes way back to the monastics at the time of the Buddha. There was always the full moon and the new moon. And this is where, if there were any infractions, that's what's called confessional. And it's also a time when we recognize what's positive. It's very balanced. It's that we reveal wrongs and rejoice virtue. Amazing. So there's no berating here, but at the same time, we're honest. Okay. You know, the other day I did this, or I said something offensive. Whatever it is, it's reveal wrongs. And we all know if we keep things bottled up, well, they just expand. So we reveal wrongs, we rejoice virtue, because that's what we're developing. We're developing positive qualities. And then it is traditional to ask the teacher to teach and stay always. One story I heard was that when the Buddha lay dying, nobody asked him to stay. So asking the teacher to stay and to teach, if you go to more formal teachings, there's always somebody at the end of the retreat who will say, please come back again and again. And so this is all quite traditional and also quite nice. You know, it's very, very nice and polite. And then we go to the Guru Yoga and we ask for the Guru to look upon us with great compassion. And this is really quite beautiful, because that compassion and that love, the 4 boundless states, are so important. And we are asking for someone to look upon us with their compassion. And then we also ask for their blessings. And it's please bestow blessings and wongs. The word wong is an empowerment. Some people have been to an empowerment. It's a ceremony. It's a transference of energy. And it's also a blessing to do further practices. So we want to bring blessings and wongs. And then we do the Vajraguru mantra again, to Padmasambhava. And by now, most of you know, Oma Hung, Benzer Guru, Pema Siddhi Hung. I'm sure you are starting to get to know it very well. And then because, I mean, it's amazing about the practice, because this is where a deep connection to the lineage lamas comes. And again, at first, who are these people? We don't know them. But they're the one holding the practice, that we are doing right now. How incredible. So we honor them by saying their name, by saying their name. And little by little, we get to know them. And it's also why the next series that will be offered is about some of, not all, but some of the lineage and Dzogchen masters. I think it'll be helpful to get to know them. And also, even in this prayers to the lineage Lama, there's one of them in the first line that says Garib. So you might go, Garib? And so it's Garib Dorje, who was the first human to receive the Dzogchen teachings. And then it goes down, and of course, I think we're starting to recognize the name Longchen Rabjam. And of course, he codified many of the Dzogchen teachings that many of us are taking. And then Ridzen Jigme Ling, who is Jigme Lingpa, and he is the one that hundreds of years after Longchenpa passed away, he had a kind of empowerment himself by literally downloading all of Longchenpa's teachings. And so that's why he's called the holder Ridzen Jigme Ling, and it's Ridzen Jigme Lingpa. So we'll be starting our next sessions when we look at some of these lineage masters, first with Longchen Rabjam, who is quite amazing, and then with Jigme Lingpa, who was the holder of his teachings. And then we move further down where Karma Benzra Tupten Jatsola is Azam Rinpoche, and he was also is also an incarnation of Jigme Lingpa. And then Pema Wangyal, who some of you have met, of Adzam Gyaltse Rinpoche. So we have them in this lineage from their father of a past life, Adzam Drukpa. And then we move on to the actual blessings that come in. And this we spent a couple of sessions on the Guru Yoga, page 21, where again, it's that Omahung. So the letters at Lama's three centers, white, red, and blue rays, rise and turn, rise at once. So we start to receive from Padmasambhava those blessings, that enlightened body, speech, and mind. So again, over and over again, we are evoking, we are acknowledging, and we are manifesting the enlightened body, speech, and mind. And then Padmasambhava melts into us. And so then it's one heart mind. And then the entire image dissolves. And we rest the three ahs at the bottom of page 21. We rest in the ahs. And that's the dissolution. So remembering that whatever we've created, we also let go of. And there's a very nice book called Creation and Completion by Sarah Harding that talks about just that process. We always do the sharing of merit. The sharing of merit is super important because it's said that the more we share merit, the more that comes back. It's not the reason for sharing merit, but it's kind of like, you know, if you're with someone and they're having a hard time and you're feeling pretty good, when they're with you, they have the opportunity to have like a mediation energy. And so we can all do that. We can all do that for each other and for anyone that we meet. So we would want to develop that. And then there is a closing prayer on 23, prayer for future rebirth, that we, right now, hopefully we don't take it too much for granted, but we have incredible causes and conditions for learning the Dharma. I mean, here we are. And we're able to hear, we're able to see, we're able to cognize, and we're able to understand, and we're able to put in practice. And so with those blessings, then we can further our Dharma more. Now, there are some times where we might lose our hearing, we might lose our seeing, or we never had it in the first place, but there are still ways to learn Dharma and to have that taken care of. And then there's the Longchen Nyingtig prayer. Once again, able teacher, treasure, jewel, Longchen. And by now, we know that's Longchen Rabjam, who we're going to learn a lot more about for our next series. And we want to acknowledge that, my goodness, for hundreds and hundreds of years, that which was the wisdom that was pulled together, that was written down actually, and passed down to us, we again recognize that by naming. So this act of naming is very important in terms of recognition. We recognize where the teachings came from, we are following in that path, and we put it into action. And so it becomes, at that point, our own path, but in relationship to the lineage lamas, and all who they have touched. And that's why there is the refuge tree. And the refuge tree can also include any past teachers that we have had. You know, many of us have had teachers not necessarily connected to the Longchen Nyingtig lineage, but we've certainly learned a lot. They can be on a refuge tree. You know, we want to acknowledge, you know, every particle of where our Dharma has come. And so as we move through the Ngöndro, so again, some people will have this as a daily practice. Other people will be going on with the accumulations. And for this session, since it is the review, to review what the accumulations are. And it's something that Asam Rinpoche really wants for people to accomplish. And there is 100,000 taking of refuge. There is 100,000 prostrations, and those are full prostrations. And for those who cannot do prostrations, it is for an extra 100,000 of Vajrasattva. And then there's the 100,000 of Bodhichitta, 100,000 of the long 100-syllable Vajrasattva mantra, 100,000 mandala offerings. And then what happens with the Vajraguru mantra is that it is something that comes later. So somebody might say, well, have you completed Ngöndro? And if you have all these 100,000s mentioned, the answer would be yes. However, there's also 300,000 of Vajraguru mantra, Omahum Vajraguru Pema Siddhi Hum. And that's collected over time. So do write down how many Vajraguru mantras that is said during the Ngöndro, and then that can be kept also in, if you're keeping a journal or a book, or for some people use the counting system of the mala, and the counting system of the mala has not just the beads, but these are called boom counters. So every time there's 108, and I don't know if you can see this, there's the moving of a little counter on a string, and the string is attached to the mala. So some people like to have the counters, and then they can count their mantras in that way. And having two sets of counters, so one set for, say, the daily, and then once you get to 1,000, you can push one over on this side, and then you go back to that side. But at any rate, how we count, and we've talked about that before, can be with the mala, it can be with a little timer, it can be with knowing in 15, 20 minutes, I can do this many mantras, this many prostrations, and that's fine. You know, then there's not as much worry about, oh, did I miss one? And so different people will use different methods for keeping track. And where did 100,000 come from? I can't say that I know, but I can say that it seems like after every 10,000, there is a feeling of a new level of the practice. And as has been said before, the practice actually becomes our teacher, because we are engaged in the practice. We are making our own connections to Padmasambhava, the lineage lamas, and we're forging ahead with those connections. And as all practice, we don't always feel connected. I mean, we might say, I don't know if I felt connected to these people today, but as I probably, hopefully mentioned in my very first talk, when we opened our series, my very first teacher said, every day, continuity is the key to success. So whether practice is extraordinarily pleasant one day, and you think it's going to be extraordinarily pleasant the next day, and it may be, and it may not be, but continuity is the key to success. And it's like any other program of long-term development, whether it's running, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's a musical instrument, it's going to have those same kinds of scales, ups and downs. Some days it feels very pleasant, easy. Other days it feels forever. But continuity is the key to success. Thank you. So we will do together our just a couple of closing prayers, and then we'll take our questions and answers that are not recorded. So this is really the sharing of merit, especially for those people who've come on to line for the live broadcast for the last 9 months. I mean, incredible appreciation, really incredible continuity is the key to success. And I've just been very honored and delighted to be able to share these very precious teachings that I received from my teacher, Azam Rinpoche, and really has almost reshaped my own mind, I feel. So, you know, it's slow. It's like the walking in the mist until one feels, oh, I kind of got wet there. And so sometimes it's like walking in the mist, and other times it's like getting drenched. But at the same time, there is a particular change, and I feel like the mind really reorients itself in the most amazing way. So for this entire 9 months, and also for this evening and for all of you, by this good, may we swiftly once become great gurus, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. Thank you.